6 months ago, my wife decided she was going to start dating. It began on a blind date with a guy named John Stanton. It definitely did not end there. It doesn't even seem half the time like she is trying to find a new husband. Some of these guys she has been seeing, she barely spends any time with at all. Dan Scott is a good example. She was going on a date with him that one Sunday, but she came back to the house like an hour later. I figured it just didn't work out. But now every few weeks on a Sunday, she will tell me she is going to see Dan and then comes back like an hour later. How in the hell do you even build a rapport with someone in that short of a time? Not really my concern, just find it curious. She still keeps up this happy wife charade. I can't even tell you how many dates her and I have been on. I still accept almost every time unless it conflicts with plans I already have. I'm not giving up on this. She will break and leave before I do. Although it does get really difficult sometimes, especially when curiosity gets the best of me and I ask her about her plans or what she did while she was out. It's not even curiosity sometimes, it's just a habit. You ask a woman about herself every day for over 30 years, it just becomes second nature. She does not hold back. And believe me when I say ignorance is bliss. I will never get the mental image of some of the things she's done out of my head. Hell, I do not even begin to know the exact number of men she has been out with. But it has to be at least 10 men. Some of them are like 25 years old. How in the hell are you going to marry some guy that's only 3 years older than your own daughter? Speaking of the kids, they are still totally in the dark about our impending divorce. I can't bring myself to say anything. When they visit or are home for breaks, my wife ceases all extramarital activity and just spends time with the family. So at least they aren't asking any questions at this point or noticing anything out of the ordinary. I was going along pretty well for the first 4 months after this all started. I had joined a bowling league. I started going out with a couple of single guys from work. They have been a real blast. Yet I really started to find myself feeling lonely. My wife, while putting in effort when she was home with me, was still going out 1 to 2 nights per week. I guess it started to show around this time because she recommended that I got on a dating app and find someone else for myself. That in itself hurt, because it was her blatantly saying she didn't want me anymore. She wanted me to be with someone else. She then sent me a link to an app. Field is what it was called. I went ahead and filled out all the information and got myself a profile. I didn't really know what to put, so I kept it pretty simple. This didn't get me anywhere, so then Angela got on it and filled in some more about me. That seemed to work because I got matched with a local woman almost right away. Her name is Sarah, 41F. We started just by talking. It was intoxicating getting to know this woman. I hadn't felt this way in a really long time. We talked about everything. I told her about my job and my kids. We both really loved the Buffalo Bills. It was just easy. She has worked as an esthetician for 20 years and has a huge client base. She has one son who is 17 years old and a high school senior. The only thing we don't talk about is past or current relationships. She was real clear early on that she was not interested in that, if I was dating other people as well. At the same time, she wouldn't be sharing anything with me about past relationships. I was completely fine with this. I mean, why would I date more than one person at a time anyway? You can't really determine if someone is the one if you are constantly throwing new people in the mix. That's something my wife could use a lesson in. Well, in the 6 weeks that Sarah and I have been together, we have done a lot of great stuff. Our Friday night dates are always the highlight of my week. Angela also seems to be happy for me, which is weird, but I guess it eases the guilt that I am finding my next spouse as well. Maybe she will even be inspired by Sarah and I to settle down and do this right. As of right now, I am still doing my dates and sleeping in the same bed with Angela, but I feel like that may change in the next few weeks as Sarah and I progress our relationship. In all this isn't what I wanted or thought would happen. I thought Angela and I would be together forever. At least I know I can build a future with Sarah. I have never been more embarrassed in my entire life than I was last tonight. I'll just start from the beginning. I have been dating this woman, Sarah, for about 9 months now. It has been going great. I spend at least 1 night a week with her. We also get the chance to meet for lunches and stuff like that pretty often. She usually comes to my house as my wife typically goes out or stays somewhere else 1 or 2 nights a week, so I try to match that with Sarah. We spend tons of time each day messaging. It has been a breath of fresh air these months after my wife decided she was leaving me, which she still has not done, and still acts like we are a happy couple every day of the week. 3 weeks ago, I sat my wife down and told her I was no longer willing to be intimate with her. Sarah and I had begun saying, "I love you" at this point. I just felt like I was cheating on Sarah now that we were obviously exclusive. Angela was hurt and told me so, even saying that this could put a strain on our marriage. That was the weirdest statement ever. What about our marriage? How is it not already strained by her auditioning a couple dozen other guys to replace me? Anyway, I put that past me. We still go out to dinner and stuff, but I now sleep in the guest bedroom. I did not tell Sarah any of this because she has that strict rule about no past or current relationships being brought up, which seems overly specific to me, but I let it go. I made the mistake one time of bringing up Angela, and she corrected me very quickly. It was over, but she was very assertive in that moment, and I dare not press that again. I asked Sarah this past week if she would go on a weekend trip with me. She said she had to check a few things. She got back to me a few hours later with a resounding yes. I was very excited. I had booked a bed and breakfast about 3 hours away. I got us a reservation at a very nice local restaurant. The town was full of little stores and antique shops, which is something we are both interested in. We arrived Friday night and had a wonderful evening. Ate dinner at a nice bar and grill, then back to the room for a very intimate night. The next day we enjoyed the alone time until about midday. We ventured out and shopped for a few hours before heading back to the room to get cleaned up. What I didn't tell her is that I had a carriage ride booked for us to take us to the restaurant. Prior to this evening, I had visited a lawyer and had divorce papers drawn up to serve to my wife. She will be served on Monday. After the carriage ride picked us up, which it appeared Sarah really enjoyed, I made my true intentions known. See, I am a 47-year-old man who knows he wants to share his life with someone. I shared with Sarah my thoughts and feelings about her, how much I love her, and how she makes me feel as a man. Then I told her that I wanted to spend my life with her and pulled a beautiful diamond ring. I got on my knee in the carriage and asked her to marry me. I did not get the reaction I expected. She began to tear up and said, "Why are you doing this?" I was as dumbfounded as I was that day Angela told me she was going on a blind date. She looked at me and said, "I have no desire to leave my marriage. I care about you and love you, but this was never going to be the outcome." I couldn't believe my ears. She was married. Why in the hell is she out here on a date with me if she is already married? I looked at her, hurt in my eye. "You're married?" She was noticeably alarmed by my question. "Yes, how did you not know that? I mean, you're married too, right?" I didn't answer. I was too upset. I jumped down from the carriage ride and honestly feel lucky I didn't hurt myself. I began walking back towards our room. The driver noticed and stopped when I saw Sarah begin to get out. I picked up my pace. I had no desire to hear her out at this time. I noticed she got back in the carriage and was taken back to the room ahead of me. That was fine, whatever. When I got back, she was trying to talk to me, but I just ignored her. We had ridden together, so I knew I couldn't just leave her here 3 hours from Rochester. I told her to pack her things and to please not speak to me. I needed to come down from this. She seemed very annoyed and confused, which I also found infuriating. This woman has been cheating on her husband with me for the past 9 months. That is just irreconcilable. I put my earpods that Veronica and Tom got me for Christmas in and refused to talk the entire drive back. When we arrived, she said, "I'm in an open marriage. It was on my bio when you first messaged me." "So are you? Why are you acting like this?" I just said, "Communication styles aside, I haven't felt married to my spouse since she started looking for my replacement. I even have her being served divorce papers on Monday. I thought you were the one. I guess the joke's on me." At that point, I drove off, headed back home. Sarah has not messaged me since. When I arrived at my house, there was an unusual car in my driveway. I thought to myself, I cannot deal with this right now. I'm just going to go in and go to the spare bedroom. When I entered, I had hoped they were somewhere else, but no, Angela and this other couple were sitting in the living room drinking some wine. As I tried to just walk by, Angela called out to me, "Gerry, what are you doing here? Where's Sarah? I thought you had the big weekend planned." I looked over at her and her two guests. Thankfully, the guy was dressed normal, but Angela and this other woman were both in lingerie. I just shook my head. Unfortunately, I had a tear in my eye, and when she looked at me with such concern, I broke down a little. There was an audible gasp as for the first time I let the pain in. She hugged me. The guests got up as to leave, but before they could, it just came out. She was cheating on her husband. Angela took a step back, and we were unfortunately blocking the escape route of her two guests. Angela, in a very confused tone, "What do you mean cheating? I thought she was in an open marriage just like us. I mean, you two met on field." I pulled back and looked at her. She said the same thing. "What does our communication style matter? It doesn't matter how well you communicate if you are just going to do whatever you want. Just like you asked me to be open. Then, like a month later, you started dating that John guy, and it's only gotten worse since. So yeah, I agreed, but I haven't been telling you much since you decided you needed a new husband." Angela looked at me with a very concerned face and said slowly, "Gerry, what do you think an open marriage is?" I kind of looked at her guests that had shocked faces, then down at Angela as she had the most concern I had ever seen in her eyes. "It's just being open about your feelings and communicating." Angela stumbled back. "Gerry, an open marriage is when a couple agrees that dating other people and having sexual relationships with others is allowed, yet they still intend to stay married and be a committed couple." I looked at her blankly, yet my mind exploded. What? Why would anyone agree to that? I was in a trance. That's what she has been doing this whole time. Finally, I responded, "So, you haven't been looking for a new husband?" Angela, "Oh my God, Gerry, no. I love you. I don't want another husband. It was just that we had only ever known each other to any degree. I mean, we've been together since the 8th grade. I just thought we could both have some new experiences. I thought things were going great until a few weeks ago when you moved into the spare bedroom." I could not believe what I was hearing. This whole time, all the men, and I guess women, that she has slept with were all just for fun. There was this insane awkwardness in the room. We were still blocking the door for the other couple to be able to leave. The male half finally made a throat-clearing noise, and we moved out of the way. The woman put on a coat, and they both left. Then, much to my dismay, I could hear both of them loudly say in unison, "Oh my God!" Angela and I spent the night talking. I remember when she asked for the open marriage. I really did think it just meant being honest. Thinking back now, it makes more sense when she brought it up. And when I agreed, she asked me about limitations, boundaries, and rules, which I stupidly said, why would anyone need any of those things in an open marriage? All confident and sarcastic. I agreed to an open marriage for the last 13 months and didn't even know what I had agreed to. I am a moron. I told Angela about the divorce papers and the proposal. She is pretty hurt by that, and we have both agreed to start couples counseling. Angela did ask me to move back into our bedroom, and I did so last night, which I am taking as a good sign that she wants to save our marriage as well and work past this. I also could use the therapy, as finding out that not only did your wife have sex with 19 other men, she also outdid you on sleeping with other women, 2-1. It would have been 3-1, but I interrupted the party. I don't know. I just don't know anymore. Did the real world pass me by? I'm sitting here thinking, how could I not figure this out in 13 months? Why didn't I just end things with Angela, or at least speak up right away? I'm so conflicted. On one side, I do feel betrayed by her, and I am angry about all that she did. At the same time, though, I literally told her to go out and have fun. I agreed to all of this, and when it bothered me, I kept it to myself. I do have to say it did lead to some positives. We dated and had sex way more often. I also got to be with someone else, which I had always wondered about. I made some new friends and did things I probably wouldn't have otherwise. At the same time, my wife went off the deep end and she never noticed or checked in with me. I made a fool of myself in front of Sarah, and that couple, who I don't even know. I wouldn't be surprised if the tale of the oblivious husband is all over the internet by now. I just hope my real name doesn't end up in there. I'll be calling tomorrow and stopping the serving of the divorce papers. I'll also send Sarah an apology and explanation. She deserves that much. I don't think I will try and rekindle things. Angela and I both agreed to stop the open marriage. I think we both want to see how much repair we can do before we make any decisions.